Revelation 2420. From the 22nd of July 1942. Distance from God. Powerlessness. Downfall. God's commandments are disregarded and humanity only pays homage to the world and thus to the one who rules the world. And because it does not recognize the Creator of heaven and earth, because it does not fulfill His will and subordinates itself to His adversary, it is heading towards ruin, for it distances itself ever more from God and can therefore be increasingly less thought of with His strength. Lack of strength, however, is ruin. Lack of strength is unspeakably painful for the spiritual substance which cannot continue its course of development but remains bound because it cannot liberate itself without the supply of strength from God. The removal from God, however, is synonymous with the withdrawal of strength and thus a lifeless state, which the being only becomes aware of after the end of its earthly life. It is an unspeakably sad time for the spirit which remains in a bound state due to the human being's wrong will, and the cause of this spiritual hardship is people's unkindness. Acting against divine commandments. Too little love is practiced for the neighbor, yet self-love is increased and therefore also love for the world, and therefore things cannot get better on earth. People cannot be spared suffering because they want it that way themselves. And such a time of unkindness necessitates God's intervention because His commandments are no longer respected. God demands love for one's neighbor from people, and He also sees love for Himself in this. Inasmuch as you do it to the least of my brethren, you have done it to me. He Himself calls all people His brothers. And He wants people on earth to act towards each other like brothers. He wants to measure their love for Him by this. And people don't listen to His voice, they don't pay attention to His word and pass by their fellow human beings' adversity and unkindness. And thus they shall feel the same hardship, they shall have to bear the same fate. Suffering shall shape each one of them if he is still able to change, and they shall learn to regard their neighbor as a brother and serve each other. But this can only be achieved by great earthly adversity, and therefore God must let such happen to earth so that love will be awakened in people and spiritual decay will be prevented where the possibility of a change of will is still possible. And this is what the coming time shall bring about, which will still bring infinitely much suffering, because otherwise humanity can no longer be led to love and without love it will be completely lost. And this is to be expected in a short time. For humanity is increasingly distancing itself from God and can only be led back to God by way of great suffering if it has not yet completely fallen prey to God's adversary and continues to remain unkind. But then the hour of judgment is not far away either, the day when a final separation is made between good and evil. Between those who live in love, who acknowledge God as their Lord, and the followers of the world who are devoid of all love. Amen.